Hello, today we're going to talk about topic 4.3, which is factoring trinomials. This is the first day we'll look at this. We'll have another lesson over factoring trinomials. If you remember, a trinomial is simply, and I'm going to move it right up here so you can see, a trinomial is simply a polynomial that has three parts. Here's one part, here's the second part, and there's the third part. And so a trinomial has three what I call elements. In our case, for right now, we'll have a squared term of some variable, then a term with just the variable, and a constant. So that's what we're working with today. Now let's go back up here and review a little bit about the blocks and box method for solving and factoring these trinomials. So if we get our pen going, when we have to find the product, remember we add up all the areas in our box of each box. So we're going to end up with x squared. And then we combine the two x terms, combine like terms. So negative 6 plus 3 is minus 3x. And then minus 18. And that would be the product of our factors. The factors, the way we discover the factors that would yield this polynomial are we find what would multiply together outside each box to give the area of that box. So to get x squared, we would have to multiply x times x, length times width. Now for this box, we know that this height of the box here is x. What would this length have to be in order for the area to be 3 times x? Well, it would have to be 3. And it's a positive 3. For this box to have an area of negative 6x, we know that this dimension is x, so this dimension must be negative 6. And negative 6 times x is negative 6x. And then negative 6 times 3 is negative 18. And so we check out in that last box. So we look to the top and the side to find out what factors, what are the dimensions of this total width and length of this box that would give us the area of these four boxes combined. And so the factors that we would multiply together are x plus 3 and x minus 6. Now that's a review of what we did yesterday, and began a little bit on the day before that. Write the numbers that give a sum of negative 5x and a product of negative 50. So remember, if our product is a negative number, we're going to have one that is positive and one that is negative, one factor. Well, and we want it to add to be negative 5. So to multiply to get negative 50, we could have a negative why is my pen's kind of going crazy on me? Let me see what's going to happen here. We're going to have a negative 10 and a positive 5. Those two, and it's got to have the x on it, negative 10x plus 5x, they're going to add together to give me a negative 5x. And if I multiply the two together, well, I just really don't know what's going on with my pen. Negative 10x times a 5x. Then I will get negative 50 x squared. And that's what I'm looking for. Okay. So that's review. That's what we've done in the past. Now let's see. Let's go. We're going to move up. So this is going to erase. I hope you have these notes. You can always replay if you need to. Back up. we're going to actually start factoring some trinomials. So I'm going to move this up so where we can see a couple of them. We're going to still ask ourselves the questions that we asked ourselves yesterday about we're going to add to what it adds to, what it multiplies together to be. But I'm going to have to tell you where you're going to find those numbers. And what we're going to end up with is our factors. If we multiply these together, we would end up with our trinomial. And we're going to find those factors just like we did along the top and on the side of our box. Now, where we get this number, what we want it to add to is the middle term, or just the x term. Okay, so the middle term. Okay, and that's going to be, in this particular case, 12x. Okay, now it multiplies to be, the way we're going to find that is we're going to say the first term times the last term, or the third term. Okay, so in this case, that's 32. X squared times 32 would give me 32 x squared. Okay, so factors of 32. Factors of 32. Since this is positive and the sum is positive, both my factors are going to be positive. And I need something that factors, so we have 1 and 32. 2 times 16. Okay. 4 times 8. And that's the one that will do it. When when you find the right factor, you can stop. So 4 times 8, 4x, and we're going to have the x on it. 4x plus 8x is 12x. 4x times 8x is 32x squared. Now, how do we put these in the boxes? You're going to put the first term in this box, and you're going to put the last term in the box diagonal to that. And on the opposite diagonal, you're going to put the two x terms, just like you've seen them in all the boxes that we've looked at so far. So we're going to put 4x and 8x, and it does not matter, like I've said before, which one you put in which box. What matters is how you factor out here to make sure that you get these areas inside the boxes. So x squared times x, or x times x, excuse me, will multiply to be x squared. What am I going to put here? So that x times whatever's in this blank will give me 4x, and that will be a 4, and it is a positive 4. And what do we put in this blank so that x times this number will give me an area of 8x, and so that would be 8. And then our last check, 8 times 4 should be the number in this box, which is 32, and it is. So we've found our factors. Our factors are x plus 4 times x plus 8. All right, very good. Now let's look at number 4 here as our example. Okay, we've got those examples. Where do we find this? Again, we look in the middle. It sums to negative 7y, and it multiplies together to be 2y squared times 6, or 12y squared. Okay? And that's not a very good looking y, but it's a y. 12y squared. And remember, we put the first term in this box and the last term in this box, and we have to decide what goes in this in these other two boxes. We need factors of 12. Now, since the 12 is positive, we know the factors are the same because positive times positive will give us a positive answer, and negative times negative will give us a positive answer. Now, since the negative 7, though, is negative, that means that both of my factors must be negative because it's the only way I can get a positive product and add to be negative. So 12 is 1 and 12. 2 times 6. None of those add to be 7 yet. 3 times 4. There we are. 3 times 4 multiplies to be 12. And if it's a negative 3 and a negative 4, and of course we have to have the y on there, that would add to be negative 7y and multiply to be positive 12y squared. So in these boxes you put negative 3y and you put a negative 4y. Okay. And then we figure out our factors. Now the only way to get 2 is 2 times 1. Remember though, whatever we put out here has to multiply with something to get a 3. Well, so we don't want to put our 2 there because nothing times 2 will give me 3. But something times 2 can give me 4, so I'm going to put the 2y out on this side of the box and just the y here. So 2y times y is 2y squared. Now, in this box, or outside this box up here, y times some number has to give me negative 3y. Well, that would be negative 3. And outside this box, 2y times some number has to give me negative 2y. So that would be negative 2. It has to give me negative 4y, excuse me. 2y times negative 2 is negative 4y. And then check your last box. Negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. Now if you don't get positive 6 there, if you don't get whatever number you're supposed to get, go back to the drawing board and try something else or look and see where you've made a mistake. Now you read your factors from the top and from the side. So my two factors are 2y minus 3 and y minus 2. And that's how you factor with boxes. Again, you're not going to be totally dependent on these boxes all the time, but it is a method to use. And it's, if it helps you, and if you need to stay with this method all the way through, do what you need to do. Now we're going to go and do some more examples. So I'm going to erase this and move on. We've got examples 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we're going to put 5 and 6 here where we can work with those. Get our pen back. Alright, s squared plus 2s minus 48. So it's going to sum to be 2s. And it's going to multiply to be negative 48 s squared. And remember, we get that by multiplying the terms on each end of our trinomial. Now again, this is negative now. The last examples have all been positive. When it's negative, your factors are going to be one positive and one negative. So in essence, you have to think of subtraction when you want to find the middle term. So, factors of negative 48 that are two numbers apart. Well, it's not going to be 1 and 48. We also have 2 times 24. Okay. 3 times 16. 4 times 12. A lot of factors to 48. And we also have 6 times 8. Well, obviously this is my right answer. Those are 2 digits apart. Now, my sum is a positive 2, so that means the 8 is the positive number and the 6 is going to be the negative factor. So, let's go here and fill in our boxes. S squared. We can put the minus 6s and the 8s on a diagonal. And we'll put the negative 48 here in our last box. Okay, and again we have our, we're going to end up with our two factors. Only way to get s squared is s times s. And so what goes in that blank, s times this blank, whatever it is, will give me negative 6s, so that's going to be negative 6. And s times whatever in this blank is going to give me 8s, so that must be 8, and then 8 times negative 6 is negative 48. So our two factors are s minus 6 and s plus 8. Okay. Well, now for 6, 7, and 8, we don't have everything drawn out for us, so we're going to draw it. We're going to write it ourselves. Go ahead and draw your box. And, you know, some people draw good boxes and some people don't draw real good boxes. Okay, and I'm just going to put plus. We want it to add to be our middle term, which is negative 7x. And we want it to multiply, and I'm going to put a little circle around that so I know it's not an x, it's a multiplication. We want it to multiply to be 3x squared times negative 6, or negative 18x squared. Alright, this is negative, so that means we have a factor that is a positive and a factor that is negative 18. So we have 1 and 18, 2 and 9, and 2 and 9, we have 6 and 3, but 2 and 9 are 7 digits apart, and so that's the combination of factors that we need, and we need the 9 to be our negative number because we need a negative 7. So put our box, fill in our boxes. We have 3x squared, put our negative 6 here, put our negative 9x, remember the x has to be there, and 2x. Okay. Now, only way to make 3, multiplication, 3 times 1, those are your factors of 3, but 2 is not a multiple of 3, 9 is a multiple of 3, so we're going to put the 3 on the left side of the box, and I think I might be off the screen, but hopefully you can see the 3x. And our x up here. Now 3x times what's going to give us negative 9x, so that would be negative 3. And out here we have 2 times x gives us 2x, and 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. So I'm going to erase over here just so I don't have something in the way of my answer. And I'm going to write the answer here. And like I say, I hope you can see the 3x on the side. But the top factor is x minus 3. And along the side we have 3x plus 2. And again, I hope you can see that. I'll try to be more careful on the next 2 examples and not get so close to the image line. Okay, let's go do 7 and 8, and then we'll be finished with this lesson and you can work on your homework. Let's see, move this up. Okay, get the pen back. Now this is in reverse order, so this is a little bit tricky. You're going to have to kind of come at it backwards. You could multiply through by a negative 1, but for today I'm just going to leave it like it is. Put the first term in this box and the last term in this box. It just so happens that that t squared we're used to seeing in the upper left, and it's in the bottom right. We need these terms to add to be negative 3t, and multiply to be negative 70 t squared. Okay, so we've got 70 times 1. Again, one's positive and one's negative. So you've got 1 times 70. You've got 2 times 35. There's not a 3. There's not a 4. You've got 5. Okay. And then you've got the one that I'm going to go ahead and skip to, 10 times 7. And if you have a negative 10 and a positive 7, you will add to be negative 3t. So negative 10t, put that in that box, and positive 3t in this box. Okay. So there's lots of ways to get 70. So I'm going to start kind of down here instead of up here. The only way to get t squared is to have a t times a negative t. Okay? So I'm going to start that way. Now, and in fact, I'm going to switch because I have my negative 10 here. You don't have to, but I'm going to switch this. Go back to my pen. And I'm going to put this as my negative and this is my positive. Alright, so what do I put up here? Remember, this times this will give me 3t. So this has to be a 3. Oh, what am I doing? Having a brain problem here. Okay, I wrote the wrong thing in there. Can't get the right answer if you write the wrong thing. This has to be a 7. So those of you that were sitting there thinking, what is she doing? You were right. This has to be a 7, and this was a 7t because we decided our factors were negative 10 and 7. So 7 times t is 7t. Out here, we're going to have a negative 10, or positive 10. 10 times negative t is negative 10t, and 7 times 10 is 70. So now we have our factors, finally, after many mistakes. And I'm not going to erase this video and make it clean and pretty like I probably should, because, you know, I make mistakes just like y'all do, and y'all need to realize that even when you know what you're doing, sometimes you do crazy things, and it's all okay. Alright, the last part here, the last one we have, looks like this, but since these are both positive, I think what I would do is I would rewrite this as 6x squared plus 17x plus 5. And then it looks more like what we're used to, and we're not going to have to come at it backwards. So let's draw our box, put our 6x squared in it, and our 5, and then figure out what needs to go in these diagonal boxes, what factors. Okay, our 5 is positive, our 6x squared is positive, our terms are both, factors are both going to be positive. We need them to add to be 17x, and we need them to multiply to be 6x squared times 5, or 30x squared. Okay. So we need factors of 30. The numbers are going to be factors of 30. And so, since they're both positive, we have 1 times 30, and we have 2 times 15, and that will get us to 17. Okay. So we have 2x, and we have 17x. And remember, these middle terms are going to have that variable on them. Alright, so we can use 6 times 1 or 2 times 3. And I made another mistake. Okay, let me put this back. It's 15x, not 17. At least I caught it a little sooner this time. Alright, so now we have multiples of, we can have 2 times 3, we can have 6 times 1. Well, we don't have a multiple of 6 here, but we do have a multiple of 3 with the 15 and a multiple of 2 with the 2. So that means I'm going to put the 3x here and the 2x here, which will multiply to give me 6x squared. I'm going to put something in this blank so that I have 3x times that gives me 15x. So that would be a 5. And out here, 2x times 1 is 2x, and then 5 times 1 is 5. So we have successfully gotten our factors, and we're going to write those in. That's our answer. And the answer is 3x plus 1 times 2x plus 5. And that finishes up lesson 4.3, and lesson 4.4 will be coming soon.